Hi everyone, welcome to hashtag Chakrachat. I was about to say that welcome to your Friday afternoon habit, but it's not a Friday, but it's a special day for Chakra Yoga Studio because of a lot of reasons. Today we are celebrating the 6th International Day of Yoga with the theme Yoga at Home and Yoga with the Family. And I think this is a very appropriate theme for our 6th International Day of Yoga, since, well, everyone is mostly quarantined, and at most we have been doing our yoga practices at home. And as we do our yoga practices at home, we come closer to our family. And in general, Chakra Yoga Studio is also building that sense of family and community. And I think this is a special time for Chakra Yoga Studio as well, since this is the first time that our yoga studio is celebrating the IDY, or the International Day of Yoga. Because this is our first celebration of the International Day of Yoga, we have a lot of things in store for you, which started earlier at 7 a.m. with a class that I initiated, a back joy chair yoga. And as we speak, by the way, we also have a 9 a.m. class earlier with teacher XT in leading his Ashtanga class for his Yoga for Life involvement. And as we speak, we also have the class of a guest teacher, teacher Zailia, who is facilitating the Twist and Detox Vinyasa class at this moment. And later at 4:30, we will be having a class by a guest teacher, Teacher Poi, who will be leading us into rocket yoga. And of course, Teacher Echo will be doing our sound healing, sound bath special later at 9 in the evening. So we are thankful. No? The reason why we have a lot of free classes today, as we celebrate the International Day of Yoga, we are very thankful for everyone who practiced with us and who have supported our cause of bringing yoga and bringing one breath, one movement at a time. And we are thankful also for all the sponsors who made our virtual classes possible. And thank you for allowing us to share our yoga practice to a lot, not just of Cagayano's, but also of a lot of people who just wanted to find an alternative exercise, or those of them who wanted to go deeper in their yoga practice. So we are thankful for all our sponsors for making them possible, and we are inviting the others to continue sponsoring our cause, to continue sponsoring our virtual classes, including our hashtag Chakrachat sessions. We are also thankful for our guests who have shared a lot of their stories and their journey with Chakra Chat. We have guests such as Teacher Hani, Sir Ron, the Thrive Sisters, which we had last week. And I think that a lot of people got inspired, from the stories of the Thrive Sisters. I'm thankful for Ma'am Mercy, Karen, Benj, and although she wasn't able to tune in, but I also thank uh, Nicey for being there during that chat session. And of course, Teacher Mitch, thank you very much for connecting Karen and the rest of the Thrive Sisters to make that last week's session possible. So we also thank Doc Tash, no? And the Chakra Yoga teachers. These are guests who made our Chakra Chat sessions very, very special. So, aside from celebrating the International Day of Yoga, we are also celebrating our Father's Day, and so we say thank you to our fathers, all the fathers out there. Happy Father's Day to everyone. in a special way, we think, of course, um, the fathers who, our forefathers, our ancestors who have shared the practice of yoga, and we thank all of them. And we also would like to welcome you in today's episode called Plant Based Lifestyle. Our guest is already at our virtual backstage, and we are very excited to learn more from him. I believe he's also a yogi. He's been practicing yoga for some time already, and very interesting. He's also a father, so I think swak na swak, no? While combining health, wellness, and celebrating the International Day of Yoga and celebrating Father's Day as well. We have a very appropriate guest, I suppose. If I may suggest, you may continue placing um, your questions, your queries, or anything that you're curious about plant-based lifestyle on the comment section below, so that we'll be able to respond to them as soon as we could. But for now, I would like to introduce to you our guest for today's session. We have Ben Emata. Welcome
Hi,
to the
Sam.
show, Ben.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here on such a beautiful day, International Yoga Day, and thank you for hosting this forum. And thank you to Chakra Studios.
Happy Father's Day, Ben.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're very excited to listen to your story. Let me start by asking, for the benefit of our viewers, what do we mean by plant-based lifestyle, or perhaps in your case, plant-based diet?
Yeah, that's good to clarify because there are different disciplines within the plant-based lifestyle. You have my focus is to be what they call whole food, plant-based, and this would pertain to the foods that are the least amount of processing. So compared to something like in the vegan side, it still allows for some processed foods, like you can have French fries, maybe, or potato chips, depending on the oil that they use, might be vegan. But the path that I'm going to is a whole food, plant-based. So whole fruits, meaning the whole thing. It's not just the juice. It's not just extracts of a particular nut or seed. It's the whole package. Yeah.
I see. And I was wondering what led you to this kind of lifestyle.
Oh yeah. Well, it's been a long time coming, but the first year, just before actually my daughter was born, I had been diagnosed with asthma. And around that time, I had already been reading about plant-based diets, athletes, and things like that. So when I was diagnosed, and after my daughter was born, it wasn't too, she was only so many months old. I experienced my second asthma attack, and this was kind of a normal night at the gym. I regularly exercise at this time. So while I was at the gym, there was a smell because we had these new mats. We were practicing jujitsu, and they had bought some new mats, and the new mats had a very strong like chemical smell. And when I got that, it triggered the asthma. So I this was in Kogon. I went down the gym, 3 flights of stairs. I was already heading home because I live nearby the gym, so I was just walking. And about 50 meters from the gym, I stopped and looked back because I was not sure I was actually going to make it. I literally thought I was going to die there in the streets of in the Kogon Market area. And the terrible thoughts, of course, went through my head. I didn't think I was going to see my family again. And after that, that was really after that experience. I really wanted to extend my life extend the quality of life. And so after reading about these testimonials, different researchers about the plant base and the benefits of that lifestyle, I went for the full push. And that's really what drove me, was my family, to be with them longer, have a longer quality life.
So it must have been like there's a deep motivation on why you chose this particular lifestyle. It's really because of your family.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
So are you're a family man? Do you have any kids?
I have a wife, but we don't have a kid yet.
Okay. I mean, either way, whether it's, you want quality time with your wife, your partner, whatever it might be, the people that you love. These are the people that are go through your mind in those moments when you feel like you're gonna die, and
Yeah.
that's really what made me try this lifestyle. And my daughter's 5 years old, and in that 5 years, I've been slowly tapering down the processed foods, the meats, the fish, and all that kind of stuff, which hopefully we'll get into. But that's really what pushed me, was to be there with my family.
Yeah. So, could you kindly bring me through your meal in a day? Like, what do you usually eat during your breakfast, lunch, and then perhaps your dinner as well?
Yeah, sure. Typical breakfast would probably be oatmeal with banana. Some My daughter likes it with raisins, so I'll put some raisins in there. Maybe some soy milk, and then there's be after it's done cooking, it takes about 5 minutes, maybe at the most. Maybe some apples. Slice up some apples to make it crunchy. My daughter also likes it that way, and then also with uh, choco powder or cacao powder and malunggay powder. And there's some additional stuff like flaxseed powder, nutritional yeast, just to kind of get the extra vitamins early in the day.
So,
And
how
then,
about for your other meals?
yeah, sure. So lunch, it depends. Sometimes we will buy, and I say we in a household. Sometimes we buy in the carinderia. The carinderias do have plant-based options in case people are wondering what they're going to eat. If they ever go
Right.
plant-based, there are things to eat. Depending on the carinderia, you can buy guso, right? That's the seaweed, right? The guso.
Yeah.
Ginatan gulay. There's mungos. There's different types of salads, right? So those are various options. The pinakbit tends to be a little bit greasy, right? So if you're the type of person that eats at the carinderia for lunch, there's plenty of options, right? So if I'm cooking at home, it might be something like menudo, but with tofu and potatoes, chickpeas, and that batch that is cooked for lunch might reach the dinner time if I have dinner. For dinner, I might
Yeah.
have some, maybe just watermelon, some additional fruits, whatever I might have. But dinner tends to be a little bit lighter. Yeah.
Right. Was it easy for you to transition from the regular kind of diet, like what I usually have, to having your plant-based diet? As you talk about transitioning to such diet, what has been some of the rewards and perhaps your challenges for having this kind of diet?
Yeah. Thank you for asking that. And transition is really a time of some kind of uncertainty, right? This is a time where maybe the technique that we're carrying out, it might not be correct, and we kind of have to have some time for failure, right? And this is a transition, might be that time where you're trying different recipes. You really have to take the time to cook to really understand what goes into food. So that's a big part of the transition, and just doing it slowly. There are people who talk about doing it overnight. That wasn't what I did. I've been doing it slowly. So just to give you an example, something I recently gave up was the pasalubong, the rosquillos.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I've been eating that for quite some time, and it has eggs in it. And so that was just something I recently gave up, right? So it's not like, oh my goodness, like what am I gonna do tomorrow? I can't eat anything, right? Like I don't know what to eat. Um, so you have to give yourself some time to figure it out, have a basic understanding what it really means to give up these foods and actually bring in more. It's not the mentality of I'm losing out is really it's really not correct because you're gaining so many different tastes. I'm using now different herbs I've never used before, like cumin. I never used cumin before, right? So I'm using that quite a lot. Soybean paste, it's delicious, but you have to allow yourself to fail, to maybe just take it slow once a week or something. And this is the process that I used to get to this point today, where I'm almost 100%, not quite, but I'm almost there.
Wow, that's very nice to hear. No, that perhaps our viewers out there might be interested also to try such diet, and the transition part is something that they can discover could fit or could not possibly fit for them. No, uh, I'm
Yeah.
I'm interested though, Ben. Do your family members share the same diet as yours? And was it challenging to have such kind of diet for the whole family in case everyone in the family is eating the same diet as yours? And how about your daughter? Does she get curious about what you usually are eating and things like that? I'm very interested to know.
Yeah, that's it's been interesting. That's the side that where I get the most resistance is within the family, especially when it comes to my daughter. Because the traditional advice, I'll just call it traditional advice, is that even the pediatricians are going to recommend cow's milk, um, proteins from animal sources. And that's where people will say, oh, she's small because she's not eating this or that. And um, that's been, I'd say, emotionally the most frustrating about the transition. But it's it's like, for example, my mother's was questioning me a lot about why I'm not giving her cow's milk. And she sees me every day, and what I can do. She sees the energy level of my daughter, and she's not, dili siya luya or something like that, right? So she's perfectly healthy. She's running around all the time, exercising. And my mother took the time to come with me to the pediatrician. And the current pediatrician that I have right now is a promoter of the plant foods. So my mother came with us to a checkup to ask, is this appropriate for a child at this age? And so I really appreciated that from my mother, although she's the one who, it tends to be a bit resisting herself to eat these foods. She did take the time to try to understand what this plant-based food is all about. And so, personally, I don't mind. If I go to a family function and it's all fish and meat and seafood, it's not a big deal for me not to eat because I've been practicing also with maybe you're familiar with the intermittent fasting. You don't have to eat 3 times a day. Maybe we'll get into some of the statistics here in the Philippines about some of the things that our fellow brothers and sisters are experiencing that they're dying from unnecessarily. But we're being overfed, so I take it as an opportunity to give my digestion system a break, to not eat. Right? These are things that are okay. You don't have to eat 3, 4, 5 times a day.
I'm interested to know, Ben, where does your daughter, for example, get the protein in a plant-based diet?
Thank you for bringing that back. So the various sources of protein in plants there's a variety. They're actually in leafy greens. We don't traditionally think of leafy greens having protein, but there is a smaller amount of protein in the leafy greens and vegetables. So you can also get broccoli, cauliflower. These are readily available locally in our markets, in our grocery stores. If I haven't been to Kogon for quite some time since the quarantine, but if you were to go there, you can get a whole kilo of pre-chopped broccoli mix, cauliflower. It has carrots. 80 pesos. Okay, that's on the higher side. I've seen as low as 70 and 60 depending on the supply. So a whole kilo will supply my daughter, me, the wife. If my mother were to eat it, it would supply her too. We could eat that literally for a whole day. So these optional protein sources are nothing extravagant. They're nothing exotic. They're readily locally available. Ororama has tofu. Shopwise has tofu. Robinsons has tofu. I'm not sponsored by any of these people. I didn't come here to sell you anything. I don't have any products, right? So I'm just telling you where I get it, where I get these sources. Peanut butter, if you're not allergic, is readily available in the market. So these are great sources of protein, and they don't come with the side effects of the saturated fats that the animal sources come with. So that's what
Ben,
I
like,
that's what I feed my daughter.
okay, great. Ben,
Yeah.
for example, when I go to the grocery, how would I know that something is processed and something is whole food?
Yeah, that's a great question. So generally, how you would want to approach the grocery is kind of shop along the sides, right? This is kind of where the perishable items are. The whole foods you'll find near the fruits and the refrigerated areas where you'll see the lettuces. That's where the tofu is. Maybe the mungo sprouts. What is it? The togi, right? The togi is there. So you can approach it in that sense, and then when it comes to the some of the prepackaged goods, because right now we're living in a time where we don't want to visit the grocery quite as often, you can go for many canned vegetables. Like there is canned corn, you have canned asparagus, tomatoes, you have chopped tomatoes, whole tomatoes. You have baked beans. If you want to make a menudo, you can get the baked beans, things like that, right? So you just want to try to avoid the aisle with the Oreos, the aisle with the Cheetos. Just don't walk down that aisle, right? Just don't look that way. And if you want snacks, we all love something crunchy, salty, or sweet. Go to the aisle where the pasalubong is, right? Those are the ones that have the least amount of ingredients and the least amount of like preservatives, right? So like my daughter likes to eat patatas. So patatas has maybe like 5 ingredients in it, and I'm okay with that. I don't try to restrict everything that she eats. She's allowed to do snacks and picnic, right? That's a very popular snack with the kids. That's just like potatoes, maybe some seasoning, things like that, right? So it's not like she's restricted from so much snack foods or other foods to eat. Um, yeah, in fact, she's allowed to eat things that her maybe other family members will give her. I'm not. I'm one thing I am worried about is to give her some kind of eating disorder because I'm restricting too much, right? And I don't want to go there. So she's at an age now. She understands where the source of the food comes from, and I'll just share something, Sam, that recently on our plant-based CDO Facebook group, I had a what do they call a watch party, and actually none of the members actually joined the watch party, but two people that did watch it was the wife and the daughter, and my daughter got to see the source of cow's milk, the way they're treated. This is a big reason why the vegans take the stance that they do, is because the source and the treatment of these animals is horrific. If you were to watch some of these documentaries, it's almost like a horror movie. I mean, I don't know how graphic we can get about this on your forum here, but just go watch some of these documentaries. And even my 5-year-old daughter understands that these animals should not be experiencing the torture that they go through.
So aside from your history in terms of your asthma, a good portion of this advocacy for plant-based diet is really for, is it for animal rights? Am I correct?
Personally, when I started the plant-based lifestyle, it was not because of animal rights. So that has been a something that I'm now accepting as the lifestyle, and I understand that more. In the beginning, it was just for personal health. You know, it was more kind of a greedy reason, right? So the vegans are definitely more compassionate in that fashion. So now that I understand what the animals go through, what it takes just for us to drink some a small amount of cow's milk, you know, a baby is stolen from her mother, and the mother cow is crying all night. You know, these are things that these cow these farms, they understand, and they know um, the I mean, if you just looked at some of these pictures and videos, the pigs are, they can't even move, they can't even turn around, right? The chickens are so overweight from injections, and they can't even carry themselves, right? And they collapse because the weight, it's not natural for a chicken to grow so fast in 45 days. And you know, here in Mindanao, we do have a big production of poultry. And if you talk to some of these people who own these establishments, they will tell you they have a different view on eating the chickens because they've seen it for themselves, how much they get injected. You know, the spaces that they live in, they're cramped, they're walking around in their own feces and things like that. And so when you kind of get an understanding of that, it really makes me look at the food a little bit differently. And I that's how that's another factor that allows me to keep this lifestyle going, is not just my personal health, but the amount of suffering that goes into some of the food that we have been that we continue to consume.
Okay. You mentioned earlier about some of the costs that can be incurred in terms of a plant-based diet, and you mentioned even that even just going to a carinderia, you can already have a plant-based kind of diet. But
Yes.
let me just try to. Could you kindly elaborate more, perhaps, on the expenses? Maybe some of the misconceptions might be it's too expensive, therefore I don't want to try it. Do you think that's a correct kind of perception?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. And if you, I believe the reason that people will say that going plant-based or going vegan is expensive is because of the pre-packaged products. And there, I'm not saying anything bad about these products. They're great. If you can, if you have the money to buy this, like vegan chocolate, or you know, the superfoods that come from Brazil or somewhere exotic, right? There's nothing wrong with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with those things. But as a practical, affordable lifestyle, you definitely don't need to do that. I don't really buy those products. If I want a superfood, we have our own local superfood. It's called malunggay, right? So we can. This is almost free for us, and the people in the States are selling this at some absurd prices, right? They're calling it superfoods, putting it in nice packages, and we have this readily available every day. So uh, that is a very practical thing. You can malunggay, matubo siya sa asa. So you can literally have that for food every day. You can powderize it when my daughter was not born yet. I already started making malunggay powder because we had already made the plan to breastfeed. That was our goal. So I just stocked up on the powder. I kept drying it. You just hang it out for maybe 2 days, and it dries. You can feel it. It gets a little bit crunchy, and you can put it in a coffee grinder or a blender, and you now have your own superfood powder, right? Made at home. Because if you buy the commercial one, maybe you didn't know that the person who made it actually heated it up, and some of the nutrients were lost, right? So that's another a practical way to make it affordable is to make your own powder. So when you go to the grocery store, the vegetables are definitely more expensive. You know, there's no denying that. If you go to the mall to buy your groceries, you're paying extra price. So if you can, it would be recommended to buy outside of the grocery store. And at the time before our quarantine times, I was regularly going to the Kogon market to buy my vegetables. And like I mentioned, you can get a whole kilo of broccoli mix for 80 pesos. You can get pinakbet mix, which has squash, okra, talong, and that's 30 pesos per kilo. Okay, I spent less than 100 pesos once because I still needed my plite, right, to go home. So I was able to buy the sare sare mix, pinakbet mix, bananas, two types of bananas, and some extra ingredients, and still had enough money to pay for my mozzarella ride home, right? So if you're willing to do that, there's no reason why you could you would only need to spend 200 pesos to feed a whole family. You throw in some noodles, maybe some homemade black beans or something like that, and you have yourself a high protein, a variety of foods and non-processed, very affordable.
Yeah. Last night, when I was trying to brainstorm some of the questions that I'd be asking with you, together with my wife last night, we were thinking, how do you sustain this kind of plant-based diet when you travel? Diba?
Uh,
I think it's kind of difficult, no, to travel, for example, abroad or even locally, and then how do you sustain this kind of diet?
yes, so I have traveled around, and it so far I haven't found it to be a big problem. So, for example, I went to Cebu City before the quarantine, of course, because and then I had to go to the what do you call it, the consulate there, because I'm a philam, right? So we had to file some paperwork, and I had to go to the city, and we were looking for a place to eat. And what you'll find is that most places have some kind of vegetable option. You might have to ask them to put the meat on the side, or to just ask what this sauce is or something like that. And usually you can find something filling. If you just go to a place like Jollibee, that might be a little bit difficult, right? Maybe you just buy the French fries or something like that. But most restaurants, even here, like in Cagayan, will offer some tofu dishes. We traveled to Guimaras, right? And so I didn't enjoy like the manga pizza or something like that because it has cheese on it. And part of my practice is I exclude also the cheese. So maybe for some people that's very limiting. They say, "Oh my gosh, what am I going to eat?" But if you look at the side menu, the side dishes, a lot of times you'll find various options. Maybe it's a side of corn. Maybe it's a side of some kind of potato side. So I can still enjoy a meal with my family, but I might have to kind of like piece it together. Yeah.
Right.
So
So
far it
Ben,
hasn't been a big deal.
yeah. So Ben, like, of course, I noticed that you have an active lifestyle. You do yoga and other activities. Dili siya luya, like, do you get the kind of the energy that you need for the things that you need to do.
Oh yeah, I'll just say in the very beginning, I didn't approach this properly. So if anyone there is out there is thinking about trying this, it's not just a matter of giving up the meat or the fish or the crabs or whatever it is you're trying to remove from your diet, because it's a form of energy. So whatever it is you're excluding, it needs to be replaced. So when I first started this lifestyle, I just stopped eating the meat. I said, okay, this pinakbit dish has some meat in it. I'm just not going to eat the meat. Or this sabaw, this laoya, I'll just eat the vegetables and the potatoes or something like that, right? And what I found is that I became very low energy, right? So because I was not properly replacing what I had removed in my former diet. So those are the things that you have to allow during the transition, and try to understand what is it that you enjoy eating, what is it that you can enjoy making on a day-to-day basis, because it is a long term. This is not a diet, right? This is not a 30-day diet, a 1 year diet. This is long term, at least for me and many others. This is not something that we're looking back on eventually. So it if you allow yourself to eat the carbs, I know there's a lot of opinions about the carbs. A lot of people are paranoid about that. But I eat plenty of carbs, and that's what our main source of energy is the carbs. Our brains run on glucose, right? Glucose comes from the carbs. Okay, so allow yourself to take a look at your whole diet and try to understand: is it really um, do I really need this other side dish that I'm including in my diet? And that's kind of maybe like a process of elimination, right? Like one thing at a time. I can take out. Maybe I go for a bike ride. How do I feel? Do I feel great? Then okay, then that worked, right? So you can kind of experiment with yourself in that manner, where you can try different things, see how you feel. Have a green smoothie before and after your workout. How do you feel the next day, right? Because that's also important, how you feel the next day. Because if you can't get out of bed because you're so sore from your workout, because your body has so much inflammation, then that's not very useful, right? The athlete needs additional time practicing their discipline to get the most out of their workouts. So we want to reduce the inflammation as much as possible. So how you feel, not just after the workout, but the next day, is also just as important.
I
So
like I,
it does. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
I like how you pointed out on the importance of being aware of your body, because in our yoga practice, it's really part of the vital principle of doing yoga. Being aware of when your body needs it, when you've reached a certain limit for your body, and whatnot. I'm interested though, Ben. You mentioned that it has been quite some time that you haven't visited Hogan Market because of
Yeah.
our situation. Was it difficult to sustain the plant-based lifestyle that you are having during this past few days, considering that we are quarantined?
Yeah. So great question, and thankfully, I haven't had to sacrifice very much in terms of the palate to sustain the lifestyle. Because there are many options of packaged vegetables. When it was funny, when this quarantine first started, everyone was panic buying, right? They called it panic buying, and so I happened to go to Ororami at the beginning of the quarantine, and I happened to get in line when in the checkout line of the canned vegetables, right? So I had already seen that the canned beef and the ramen horot na the gamay lang na bilin yun. So we're in this the canned vegetable aisle, and it is full. I mean, really full. Like you could buy 5 cans of chickpeas and there would still be plenty left, right? And that was not the case for the corned beef or the luncheon meat. You know, these are the things that people should not be eating. When our health is the biggest concern with this virus, right? So we need to um, not look at those as the survival foods. We need to look at the foods that will give us a boost in our immune system. And just walking down these aisles, I mentioned the baked beans. You can get one of my favorite things to buy in the Kogon market was the gata. Okay, you can buy your 3 cups of extract milk, coconut milk extract. Cost what was that again? 25 pesos, I think it was. Okay, so that really gives your food some flavor. So what do you do in this time when you can't go to the Kogon market quite as often? Well, thankfully here in our supermarkets we have powderized gata, even canned gata, right? So if that was, I'm not sacrificing on that. The things that the lemongrass you can use for cooking with your vegetables, those are still available outside the market, thankfully. There are smaller vendors that are now selling along the Duplin sa dalan lang, right? So you can still get these items, just not as conveniently and maybe not as often, but the grocery stores do offer things to keep the palate happy. Yeah.
Right. We have here, before we proceed to the next question, we have here some shout out coming from your family, Ben.
All
One of
right.
our friends mentioned that the Dongalio family, are viewing in support of Ben Ross. And we
All
have
right. Thank
here
you, family.
Kai Bukikai, hello cousin.
Ah, Mama Kai. Thank you.
And then we also have Teacher Echo. Hi, Ben. What's the difference between a vegan and a plant-based? So, if you're vegan, are
Yeah.
you necessarily a plant-based kind of person? So, maybe we can have some clarification on this matter. Thank you very much for the question, Teacher Echo.
Yes, thank you, Teacher Akov. And the main difference is the vegans are in it for the ethical animal rights, the ethical reasons, and this is a great thing to support. Our animal agriculture system is terrible. Treats animals, literally tortures them. The cows are literally raped just so that we can have our milk, our cow's milk. Okay, if you want to look into that process, that's readily available to see online. Okay, the pigs are crammed into quarters where they literally cannot. They all they can do is lie down. They are so aggravated. They eat each other's ears and tails so that they have the the keepers of these animals have to literally cut their tails off and just to avoid this problem, right? So this is the approach of the vegans, and the vegan diet is only a I'll just say call it side effect for lack of better terms, a side effect of their ethical beliefs, right? So that is the main difference between the plant-based and the vegans is the ethical approach. Although plant-based still applies to the vegan approach because like myself, I do have compassion for these animals. I don't want to contribute to animal torture. I don't want to contribute to the environment being polluted because of these products, and that is included in the plant-based lifestyle, but may not be the main approach to the person who's advocating that.
Thank you again, Teacher Echo, and thank you, Ben, for
Yeah.
clarifying the difference and perhaps the relationship of these two terms. Um, when you started plant-based, did you notice changes in your body or in your build when you started and when you were able to sustain it?
Oh yes. The Because of the increase in fiber intake, fiber is the roughage, or maybe like the more technical term would be like the cellulose walls that are the structure of the actual plants or the fruits. And this is a huge benefit to our bodies. And because you increase the fiber, you get rid of excess. We'll just call it excess garbage in your system, right? So the fiber acts somewhat like a sponge, and it takes out the excess fat. It takes out the estrogen in your blood, right? And what I found when I finally got the routine down of how to apply the diet properly was that I lost 3 kilos. Okay, I normally was about 60 kilos, and I went down to, I think it was like 57, 56 kilos, simply by increasing my fiber intake. And that was, I did not feel like low energy or anything like that. It was that was the first thing that I realized about the body change. And then, I just have like maybe like a steady energy that a lot of the advocates for this lifestyle, they advocate the energy and the recovery, because the animal foods are causing inflammation in our bodies. And so the recovery for an athlete is a benefit, because if you can recover faster, that means that you can go back to your workout and apply that much more, right? Instead of having to take a day off, or maybe just taking it easy that next day. Those were some of the things that I personally experienced, but the weight loss was nice. Yes.
I'm sure that a lot of our viewers are also curious about this. Did you consult your doctor before proceeding with your plant-based kind of lifestyle?
No. So I'm not. I'm definitely not going to say don't consult your doctors. Okay. So I'm not here to demonize the medical people here. They perform miracles for our fellow brothers and sisters. Surgeries do miracles, and medicine does miracles. So I'm not going to demonize any of that. But just to make make a point, your average doctor is not trained in nutrition. Okay, they do not have a background in nutrition, and I'm not saying I do. Okay, I'm not saying I know nutrition, because I don't. I really have just like a white belt understanding of nutrition, right? So all I'm trying to make a point is that even if your doctor is not advocating for plant-based foods or plant-based lifestyle, you might have to look into it a bit further. Look into it maybe yourself, or seek out a doctor that does promote these things and see what they say.
Right.
Right? Give yourself an opportunity to learn. Maybe just like in yoga, you wouldn't promote. You can only go to one teacher, right? Because that's very limiting. And so why would you want to limit someone's ability to learn and expand their understanding about something very important like health and longevity, right? Based on a school system that does not include nutrition. It's a whole different degree, right? It's a whole different degree.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for answering that question, Ben.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier that you're part of a parang Facebook group of vegans in CDO. Is that the group that you mentioned earlier? Am I correct?
Yeah, thanks for asking that, Sam. That's plant-based CDO. I included the diet/lifestyle, just so it's a little bit more clear what the group is about. And I started that because in my family, I'm one of the few, right? I think it's like Teacher Echo and I are basically the ones in the family that are really applying this. I'm not saying other people are not trying, right? But you might feel a little bit isolated when you when you take on this approach, right? In the culture here in the Philippines, right? It's meat is very much part of the diet, right? So you might not get a whole lot of support in your immediate family. So what I find myself doing is going online, right? Looking to maybe YouTubers who are applying this, who do have professions in nutrition, dietitians, or other online forums that where people are going through the same things. Maybe you'll read these comments from other people. I'm the only one in the family not eating meat. You know, the freezer is full of all this meat. What do I eat? Like I'm not even the one cooking. So if you need support like that, then that's what the Facebook group is there to offer. You know, I'm not trying to sell anything. Like I said, I don't even have anything to sell except my story, right? I just want to provide the story how I was able to literally reverse my asthma through this lifestyle, and hopefully this will help people understand that there are other options. Medicine is not your only option. You don't have to be scared to do this. You don't have to be alone. There are other people all over the world who are doing this. And if online is the only place that you can find somebody else, then that's what plant-based CDO is here to do.
I'm glad that you were able to find a community who helped you in this journey of looking into plant-based lifestyle. No? I'm very impressed with the story that you share. I know that our viewers out there are inspired because of your story of how the plant-based lifestyle helped you in terms of dealing with your asthma early on, no? And the way you discover how important it is to be aware of our bodies and what food or what kind of lifestyle fits us is as important as finding the kind of diet that's fit for us. No? So thank you very much, Ben.
Yeah, thank you, Teacher Sam. Appreciate for having me on this forum, and thank you to Chakra Studios on this beautiful day, International Yoga Day.
And maybe Ben, you might want to give final advice, especially for those who are perhaps curious of taking into the challenge of going to plant-based diet. Maybe you have some words.
Yeah, I would say just take it slow. One thing I did want to point out is that how to actually quantify it. Like as a person suffering from asthma, how do I actually quantify that I am reducing my symptoms, right? And so at the very start of my asthma diagnosis, I was literally using an inhaler every day. Okay, every day. And over the years, I've been able to track my use of the inhaler, and it's been reducing more and more every year. Okay, so I went from using it to every day, to every month, to every so many months, and this June is 6 months into the year, and last year I was not able to go 6 months without using my inhaler. So it's not perfect, but I've been spending over 30 years putting these toxins into my body. So don't think that it's going to happen overnight. There are things that do happen quickly, but there are other things that take time. I still suffer from wheezing, but it gets better and better every year. And these are things that I can quantify with myself. So hopefully that will allow other people to take a look at themselves, be aware of how they actually feel, and whether or not they want to consume the suffering of other animals.
Thank you very much, Ben. You are truly a health inspiration. Thank you
Thank you,
very much
Teacher
for
Sam.
sharing. Thank you very much for
And
sharing your story, and hopefully we can chat once more and share more of your plant-based lifestyle story because I'm sure that a lot of our viewers are really inspired by it. So,
oh yeah, yeah, sure.
like how we usually end our program, our chakra chat session, then we place our palms together and say namaste.
Namaste. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Ben. So, thank you very much for all our viewers. It's going to be a very interesting session again next week as we celebrate Pride Month. No? So we have an LGBT lawyer who will be joining us in our Chakra Chat session. And I will be having a surprise co host, and that's something that you would want to watch out for next week, Thursday, June 26th. So see you around, and God bless you all. Happy International Day of Yoga, and happy Father's Day, and happy Father's Day to you, Ben. God bless
Thank
everyone.
you.